It's been 28 long years since Germany lifted the Euros on English soil. Back in '96, their victory marked a dominant era for the national team. But can they recapture that magic on home turf this year? Can the three-time champion recapture its glory? Germany, with 3 European titles under its belt, gears up for a home soil fight for a fourth. After a performance last time that left much to be desired, the Germans are positioned as one of the frontrunners going into Euros 2024, with a brilliant manager like Julian Nagelsmann in charge and a roster brimming with young talent. It isn't hard to see why they can't nick it this time. If you're a fan of Die Mannschaft, it must have been tough not seeing your team lifting the Euros ever since the clock struck 0-0. 3 times this century, in 2000, 2004, and most recently, just 3 years ago, they couldn't even break into the quarterfinals. It's an absolute mystery. What's rather interesting is that during that same period, Germany has battled their way to 2 World Cup finals, even bringing home the coveted trophy once. Yet, the Euros seem cursed, bringing me to ask, could the Euros just be more difficult to win than the World Cup? What do you think? I would love to see those think pieces in the comment section. Anyways, Germany hasn't even reached the final since 1996, and to truly twist the knife, their recent major tournament showings have been, well, underwhelming. A group stage ousting at the last World Cup, followed by a round of 16 defeat in the Euros. Tough times, eh? That might just be changing this time around though, with a new manager in town, Julian Nagelsmann. So what's the secret sauce this time around? The footballing world was in shock when Bayern Munich dropped Julian Nagelsmann in 2023. The young mastermind, who was brought in for a record-breaking €25 million transfer fee, was shown the door for what the Bavarians felt was inconsistent performances. Interestingly, at the time of his dismissal, Bayern were hot on the heels of the Bundesliga lead, still in the DFB Cup, and on a flawless Champions League run. So how'd that gamble turn out for Bayern? We all likely know the answer by now. But the even more intriguing twist came 6 months later, and that was Nagelsmann landing the German national team job. That's right, the same guy who replaced Hansi Flick at Bayern Munich was now replacing Flick as the manager of the national team, becoming Germany's second youngest coach ever at 36. So far so good, Nagelsmann's foray into international football has seen mixed reactions. There's no doubt all eyes will be on him, especially as the young manager has consistently proven his ability not just to meet, but often surpass expectations. I mean, if you've worked under Tuchel and have got a list of coaching idols that include Pep Guardiola, Ralf Rangnick, and Jurgen Klopp, then you're guaranteed to be on the right track. It's no surprise that the influences of these managers shine through in Nagelsmann's own style, as evidenced by his tactical flexibility, relentless high pressing, and a constant drive for innovation. But Nagelsmann's magic touch extends beyond tactics. He has a knack for elevating individual players. He did it with André Kamaric, a fringe player at Leicester who blossomed into a World Cup finalist and Hoffenheim's record goalscorer. And there's also Niklas Süle, a key figure for Germany now, thanks to his formative years under Nagelsmann at Hoffenheim and Bayern. He was also responsible for the breakthrough of Timo Werner and Marcel Sabitzer, who reached career-best heights under his guidance at Leipzig. Now, imagine this same Midas touch working on Germany's young guns of Musiala, Wirtz and Havertz. With a home crowd roaring behind them, anything seems possible. But the question remains, how much of a factor will that home advantage truly be? Germany's last major tournament on home soil wasn't exactly a fairy tale. The 2006 World Cup ended in a heartbreaking semi-final defeat to eventual champions Italy. They'll be hoping for some home support magic this time, but does playing at home really guarantee success? Looking at the Euros, history suggests not. Only 3 hosts have ever lifted the trophy, and the last one to do it was France way back in 1984. Before that, it was Spain in 1964 and Italy in 1968. Reaching the final seems more likely for hosts though. France fell just short in 2016, losing to Portugal in extra time. Remember the dramatic 2004 tournament in Portugal? They were favourites on home soil, but Greece had other plans, grinding out a surprising 1-0 victory in the final. This upcoming Euros will be Germany's 3rd time hosting the prestigious tournament and the 2nd in a unified nation. West Germany played host in 1988, and a reunified Germany saw some action in the multinational Euro 2020. This year, however, marks the first time a reunified Germany takes centre stage solo. Germany's home form in 2024 hasn't been stellar. They've lost 2 out of 6 matches on home turf. So, will the passionate home crowd be the ultimate game changer? Can they rewrite history and become the first host nation to win the Euros since 1984? The answer hinges on a few key factors. First, will their star players rise to the occasion? All eyes will be on Manuel Neuer, especially after some recent wobbles in form. Manuel Neuer has had it tough in recent weeks. Only the other day, the veteran keeper gifted Greece a goal in Germany's final Euro warm-up match. It seems Neuer hasn't been the same since his error in that dramatic Champions League tie at the Bernabeu. You would think an experienced goalkeeper like him would have put the mistake of the past behind him, but the Greece performance leaves much to be desired. This wouldn't be the way Neuer wanted to go into the Euros. The veteran, who was on his 118th cap, fumbled a harmless shot that fell perfectly for Giorgos Masouras to tap in for Greece. Thankfully for the 38-year-old, Germany fought back with second-half goals from Havertz and Kroos. Let's be honest, Neuer is arguably the greatest goalkeeper of his generation, maybe even of all time, but the errors cast a shadow, with fans online debating whether Neuer is still Germany's undisputed number 1. Germany's Euro hopes hinge on his performance, and with Barcelona's Marc-André ter Stegen himself not inspiring enough confidence at this time, there's no doubt he'll be starting in goal, especially with Nagelsmann saying this after the Greece match: "I won't allow any discussions about Manuel Neuer, even if everyone's going to try." This will be the veteran goalkeeper's 8th major tournament for Germany, having debuted in 2010. It's also likely to be his last hurrah, and he'll be desperate to go on a high. But Neuer won't be the only one. The same burning desire to end their international careers with a flourish will surely fuel Toni Kroos. Who walks away from the peak of their powers? That's the question that left many scratching their heads when Toni Kroos announced his retirement from Real Madrid in May. This summer's Euros will be his grand farewell, the final chapter in a story that cemented Kroos as one of the greatest midfielders ever. But here's where things get interesting. Kroos actually retired from international football back in 2021. After 106 appearances for Germany, including a World Cup win in 2014, the criticism after a rough Euro 2020 seemed to get the best of him. The press wasn't kind. Some legends even cast him aside. It felt like his own country had turned on him, and Kroos walked away. Almost 3 years on, things have done a complete 180. Julian Nagelsmann somehow convinced the World Cup winner to make a comeback. And this is not some emotional homecoming though. Kroos earned his spot back fair and square. He is the phoenix rising from the ashes, ready to inject his magic into a team that's been seriously off form. So why bring Kroos back now? Because this German team is a bit of a mess, to be honest. They're all over the place, lacking control in midfield, which is exactly where Kroos shines. Remember, this guy is a master at dictating the flow of the game, a steady hand on the wheel when things get crazy. Kroos might not be a flashy superstar, winning games single-handedly. Still, he'd be the player to restore calm to the storm, especially since some of Nagelsmann's favourite players from Bayern haven't been on top form lately, and it's showing with the national team too. But beyond the skill, there's a story here. 3 years ago, Kroos felt disrespected by his own country, criticised and cast aside. Now he's back. Is it pride? Loyalty? Who knows? But one thing's for sure, Germany needs a spark, a reason to believe, especially with a huge tournament on home soil. With Nagelsmann looking to prove himself, young stars on the rise, a defence anchored by Rudiger, and experienced veterans like Neuer, Gundogan and Kroos himself, Germany has the pieces to challenge for the title on home soil. But can they finally click and silence the doubters? That's the question everyone will be asking when the Euros kick off.